Ben Johnson chose the Chicago Bears. That much we now know for sure. But what we also know is how it all went down. Straight from Ben Johnson's agent's mouth, why Ben Johnson chose the Chicago Bears. His agent Rick Smith has been going on an interview tour recently, speaking with Greg Gabriel and others and doing interviews that fans can watch. But he spoke about what really happened and talked about things that go on behind the scenes. One of the questions asked was the narrative that leaked Thursday night after the Thanksgiving game. We all remember hearing it. It was Ben Johnson's message to teams that wanted him. The report said that Ben Johnson needed alignment with the front office and transparency on what went wrong and their plan to fix it. Straight from his agent's mouth, Rick Smith said that was a narrative that Ben and I set up. I planted that narrative in the media, basically confirming that it was a message to the Bears and other teams about what they wanted from the front office. And the Bears got the message loud and clear. He did further comment on the talk about alignment and said it had nothing to do with being on the same contract as Ryan Poles. And he said it had nothing to do with bringing in his own GM. And that was pure nonsense. But one thing that Lions fans didn't understand in this process is Ben Johnson was focused on the playoffs. It was Rick Smith doing all the background work behind the scenes, even asking Ryan Poles the tough questions. And he said it straight up. He asked Ryan Poles all of the questions, his plan for the future, all of the questions that us fans would love to know and would love to ask Ryan Poles. Rick Smith had an opportunity to do that. And after hearing Ryan Poles' answers, it was clear the Chicago Bears were the destination for Ben Johnson. But it wasn't until the playoffs were over, Sunday night, immediately after the Lions lost, Rick Smith went to Ben Johnson's house, sat down with him and his wife, and gave him an entire presentation on what all of the teams offer and what every situation would look like. But there was only one destination. Ben Johnson wanted to come to the Chicago Bears. He even told George McCaskey and Ryan Poles during Zoom interviews. Rick Smith said his heart was in Chicago and he never wavered. He added that Ryan Poles handled this process better than any GM has ever handled an interview process that he's been a part of. And this guy is the agent of both Dan Quinn and Dan Campbell, the coaches of the Lions and the Commanders, both teams that played in the division round or later in the playoffs. And Ryan Poles handled the process better, straight from the agent's mouth, no BS, no rumors, no national media clickbait. This is directly from Ben Johnson's agent. And the first interview was just Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson, one-on-one on a Zoom interview. And he said that Ben's first words after that interview were, "I feel really comfortable with Ryan Poles." Yet everyone in the media was trying to tell us that he wouldn't come here because of Ryan Poles. Again, we are proving the national media wrong. I literally made a video the day that story broke and said it was pure nonsense. Being able to hear this story directly from the agent is awesome. He also talked about the Raiders. He said the initial gut reaction on the Raiders was it's a no-go. But he said Tom Brady did have a plan, and that did intrigue Ben Johnson. But it was never the top choice. Chicago was always number one. Basically, when he asked again about the Raiders rumors, he said exactly what I kind of figured. He said sometimes you'll hear rumors and you want to shut them down. But when he heard that rumor, he did not want to shut it down. It helped him with leverage against the Bears. Ben Johnson was not going to the Raiders unless Ryan Poles and the Bears messed things up. But after everything, one of the biggest questions I had was how he demands accountability. And so far, I've been blown away by the impressions I've gotten. His decision to come to the NFC North, the toughest division in football, speaks volumes. You have to beat the best to be the best. Direct quote from Ben Johnson. That and how he went about landing Dennis Allen to run this defense and putting together the rest of this coaching staff is honestly so refreshing, and it has me ready to run through a wall for this guy. The Bears finally got their head coach. One step at a time, this team is getting back on track. We got the quarterback, we got the coach. Now let's start winning football games. Thanks to everybody who watches. I just wanted to tell this story in case you missed it. Please hit the like button for me. I have a ton of off-season content on the way, covering the Senior Bowl, the Scouting Combine, free agency, and of course the NFL Draft, as well as any breaking Bears news. Please support the channel by hitting that like button. Stay tuned, and until next time, bear down.